Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge. It's Friday night and Manchester United are in utter chaos. Just a little bit like me actually. I was literally just going to go live a couple of minutes ago and I poured my drink and it fizzed over the top and I tried to get my mouth around it to stop and ended up with a choking on the foam and then it was all on the table. So a bit like United really. It's a metaphor. But yeah, I was meant to be live at 7. I was going to do a watch along and then I thought I'm going to the pub because I expected Manchester United to have announced the sale to Sir Jim today, and they're not going to. They're not going to. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about, look, I said it, I sort of hinted at it this morning. There's a real, I've got the Villa game on anyway, but there's a real, I think people have really not grasped this article from Laurie Whitwell about the problems at United. There's sort of 7 points in there I want to go into tonight. It's a bit like the film 7. It might end up with somebody's head in a box, i.e. sacked, because I just don't know. I've spoilt 7 for you now. To be honest with you, if you've not seen the film 7 by now, you can shove your spoiler comments in the chat. What you've been doing for the last 20 years. Watch the film. Anyway, it's a good film, but I've just ruined it. The reality, I have ruined it. I've just ruined it. Don't watch 7 unless you're watching it knowing that what happens at the end. Anyway, the club is in a mess. It is in a mess, and I think that this story from Laurie Whitwell, well, I can tell you where it's coming from as well. I'll tell you where it's coming from in a minute. But there's that article has basically just sacked John Murtough. When you actually read everything in there about the Casemiro signing, the Declan Rice, the Harry Kane, we'll go through it all, but that article has basically just sacked John Murtough. No two ways about it, because it's an absolute hit job. And, I mean, he was going to get sacked anyway, probably, but there's no way back now. It's a real character assassination on him, and we'll talk about where it's come from. But also, Dan Ashworth, Eddie Howe's been talking about Dan Ashworth. Doesn't look like we're going to get him. If you're interested, Manchester United have just been given a 1 out of 5 by the Food Standards Agency as well, because apparently they served raw chicken at a function. I mean, I couldn't give two shit. I do care. I do care about health, food health, but I mean, it's just Man United, isn't it? But we'll start off with something that I find the problem that Ten Hag's got at the moment is that there is no leadership at all. No leadership at all at that football club. The CEO is an interim. The director of football is being absolutely pummeled. The Glazers want to give up control of the footballing side. And it's just incredible. It's incredible. Deal won't go through. It makes no business sense, says John. Welcome to Members Club, Aspen and Abir. So, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, what's the latest with Sir Jim Ratcliffe? Today, they were trying to get this 25% deal done before Christmas because it's Friday today. Christmas Day is on Monday. It's the weekend. Obviously, got Christmas Day. So, you know, the New York Stock Exchange will be closed anyway. It was getting to about 4 o'clock this afternoon, and I was saying, look, they're still saying that they want to try and get it done. And they were. The people close to the deal were saying they're still trying to get it done. And then at about 6, 7 o'clock tonight, it was like not looking likely tonight, but hopefully tomorrow. And then by about 7 o'clock tonight, not tomorrow. So we're not getting the deal today. We're not getting it tomorrow. Would you do a deal on Christmas Eve, which is a Sunday? I don't think so. And, you know, even if it had been announced today, we maybe were just going to get a holding statement of Sir Jim Ratcliffe has got 25% and looks forward to working together with the Glazers. That might have been all we got. So it's the thing is, some people will say don't care, lost interest, not bothered. But it's the only reason you've lost interest is because it's been going on for so long. We've known it's been going on for so long, and it has been going on for so long. And there is a lot of detail that we need to know from this deal, and we still haven't got the deal. The January transfer window, it's going to take weeks for Sir Jim to be in place anyway. I think they're writing the season off subliminally by not getting this deal done quicker. We're in the middle of a season and there is no leadership above Erik Ten Hag. Like the CEO, as I said, the director of football, we're actually playing games. We're going into a bloody transfer window. There's no leadership above him. It's incredible. And I think that whenever it gets announced, it's Is there any chance for a Qatari comeback, says Leo. There's more chance of a bloody Elvis Presley comeback than there is of a Qatari comeback. They're out. We will end up with Sir Jim, but it's just we need it to happen, and we need it to happen ASAP, and it's not. Mark, if Sir Jim will take over the football side of things, will the Glazers still be the ones paying the transfer fees, says Bart? Well, I can't answer these questions, mate, because I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with the deal, but what I am saying is, I think some people are like, oh, what, so what, Merry Christmas, let's get the Quality Street out, don't matter if it doesn't happen today, tomorrow, it'll happen at some point, but it does. That's my line, really. It does. If it had happened a month ago, we'd be in a better position now. And I don't think people think of it like that. We've known about this deal since the start of the international break, which was, what, 5-6 weeks ago? If we'd have done this deal then, 5-6 weeks on, he'd be in control of the footballing side. You could have things happening in the January transfer window. You could have Blanc and everyone else in place. And we don't have that. So we're basically going backwards. We haven't got the handbrake on. We're going backwards. The management structure of Manchester United is not Richard Arnold. He's gone. It's an interim CEO, and it's Richard Arnold as director of football going into the January transfer window, where he's just been sacked online. Like, not officially, but he has just been dismantled by that Athletic article. So if you're Ten Hag, you're sort of like, I've got no CEO, I've got no director of football, and I've got games to play. And this is what's pissing me off, because we've got a massive game tomorrow, massive game on Boxing Day, massive game next Saturday. January's got loads of games going on, and we've got this, snail pace sale. We need the new CEO. We need the new director of football. We desperately do need it. And I don't know whether you heard what Eddie Howe had to say today, but Eddie Howe... Eddie Howe, in his press conference today about Dan Ashworth, said, it's not for me to speak on his behalf, but basically we're confident that he'll stay. So it looks like that's just paper talk as well. Incredible, really. But get your thoughts in. But what I do want to talk about as well is this John Murtagh piece. I know we were talking about it this morning, but there's basically about 6 or 7 points from this article from The Athletic that we need to sort of delve into, because this is a hit piece. This is not a bit of journalism with a dressing room source. This is a detailed hit piece. That's what it is. And I know this morning we spoke about how when we showed Jude Bellingham around Carrington, Sir Alex Ferguson was only allowed to shake his hand before Murtagh led him off for a tour, which is ridiculous, because you want Sir Alex Ferguson having a chat with Jude Bellingham. I mean, if I'm going to get a new job and, the boss is Martin Scorsese and I only get to have a shake of his hand, then, I'm probably not going to be that impressed. You need to have a look at it. Just checking for a possible... it's going to be a foul. Ollie Watkins pushing the back. That's a penalty. Blatant penalty for Villa, that. And he's pulling his shirt. That's going to be a blatant penalty for Villa if you've got it on. But yeah, there's a few other bits in there that I think are really worth talking about as well, specifically around the Casemiro thing. And effectively... What they're saying is that they haven't given the penalty for Villa. Fucking hell. Have you seen that? Anthony Tate, absolute joke. Absolute joke, that is. I've just got to tweet this because it's a joke. I don't know how they've not given a penalty for that. He gets shoved in the back quite clearly. Anyway... There's sort of 6 or 7 things in here about what they've said. And one of the things that sort of came from this article was that Ten Hag had basically identified Harry Kane as his prime choice, but Man United never really approached Spurs. And also that when they signed Casemiro, that sort of used a lot of the money up that they may have been able to use for Declan Rice. But they felt that West Ham wouldn't be open to a deal. And it's just this... the blasé approach of Manchester United to transfers. Apparently Ten Hag likes to keep his own company within the football club. He keeps a close eye on people like... he keeps a close relationship with his agent and Van der Gaag, and doesn't massively get involved in anything else because He doesn't feel that he's got people around him that he can trust. Obviously, there's a feeling that Manchester United don't really have a serious approach to what they're doing. The article goes on to say that Murta has an impressive survival instinct. He's survived 5 managers at Manchester United, and the way he does that is because he's a shrewd political operator, described as a great survivor, who's not very egotistical, and manages to survive. I mean, it's a complete and utter hit piece. And I think it just exposes the chaos that is ensuing at Manchester United at the moment. Now, look, I'm going to tell you where this has come from. I can't give you the name because I'll probably get sued for it. But the reality is, this piece that Laurie Whitwell's done, it's very obvious where it's come from if you do a little bit of research. In fact, people might even know already. But it's certainly coming in part from former employees of Manchester United who left in a way where they weren't very, very happy. And they'd certainly be people with good relationships with Sir Alex Ferguson who would have a big insight into how Manchester United's being run. So it's very, very well sourced in relation to, they know the inner workings of John Murta and they know the inner workings of Manchester United. And the timing of this article is somewhat perfect. I mean, I imagine if you're Laurie Whitwell, it's just like Christmas has come early because you're just getting all this first-hand information from somebody with a very credible name who's been working in the club, who's just basically done a hit piece, which you can then put out to the national media and to the fans. And look, I'm not saying what Laurie's done's wrong. I don't think that's journalism. It's investigative journalism at the end of the day. And there is a part of me that feels a little bit sorry for Murta because he's been absolutely exposed, but it's probably long overdue, and it's just another indication of how he's still the director of football now. I mean, that article's out there. There's a big list of how bad he's been at his job from people who've worked with him, and yet he's still director of football going into January. And this is the problem with United. It's chaos. It is chaos. It's left Ten Hag exposed. Sir Jim's still not done his deal. We can't get any... There's no change coming in. And I suppose that reflects everywhere. It's not just the CEO, the boardroom and recruitment. It's the same in the playing squad. We've still got... how is John Murta any different to Jadon Sancho? You've got a director of football who's clearly not very good at his job, but he's still doing the job. You've got Jadon Sancho who's been sat there for 3 months not playing football, earning money. And this is the problem at Man United. You just see this it's deep-rooted problem throughout the whole football club that there's people within that football club that really shouldn't be there anymore and are still there, and therefore they're creating more problems. And I think if you're the manager or any manager, you're exposed. You look up, you've got incompetence. You look down, you've got incompetence. And yet you're in the middle of a season trying to make things happen. Look, I'm not saying Sir Jim Radcliffe's the answer. I think the answer was to sell the club and get new owners in. But from Ten Hag's point of view, any help is help at the moment, and he needs it. And that help might end up with him losing the job, let's be honest. Sir Jim might not want to use Ten Hag. But the current situation, he desperately needs help in it. D-Train says, good day, Mark. Unbelievable, it's just gone 7 a.m. here, and I've been drinking all night, and you're well drunk than me. Strange. Have a great Christmas. I'm not even drunk. Mark, why did the Glazers stay now that he's reported United sticking with their decision not to join the Super League? Well, we'll find out at some point, Ronald. And any chance of a second-half watch-along would be class. No worries if not. Love the show, says James. And our chief transfer negotiator was an Adidas commercial exec who had never been executed a transfer in his life, and we wonder why we're overpaying for everyone, says Chris. Well, in the same article, it basically says Anthony... I mean, it mentions £25 million for Anthony. I think that's ridiculous. I don't think Anthony was worth £25 million, but it mentions £25 million. But we did overpay for Anthony. It mentions Hoyland, we overpaid for. It mentions Mason Mount, where, a lot of people don't really understand why we bought Mason Mount, joined the club, but also Mason Mount had a year left on his contract, and we really should have... look, I don't care. He hadn't had the best season for Chelsea. Mason Mount had a very bad season for Chelsea last year. He's got 1 year left on his contract, and Man United pay 55 million quid. Really, it should have been 40, and we overpaid. So I think that there's been a lot of really weird transfers at Manchester United, but I think at some point you've just got to wake up and smell the coffee, haven't you? We've got a massive game tomorrow, and I'm like, I just think the club, it's not... I think a lot of people talk about their football club and they say, oh, it's like we've got the handbrake on. If we could just release the handbrake, then we'd be in a much better position. And we're not. Man United haven't got the handbrake on. We're going backwards. And what I don't understand about it as well is, and I know it's business, but the Glazers are staying. The Glazers are staying majority owners of this football club. If they cared about, and that's the big thing, if they cared about the football club, then they would get things done quickly. They'd be looking at the situation on the pitch. They'd be looking at the fact that we've crashed out of Europe. They'd be looking at the fact that we might not qualify for Europe next season. And they'd be getting this deal done quickly so that the money can come in, the new director of football can come in, the new CEO can come in, and every second counts. If I was the Glazers, I'd be like, this Sir Jim is going to take over the footballing side. He's going to get people in who he knows what they're doing, which is surely going to improve us. And the sooner we improve, the better, because it's more money and it's more points. And yet they're dragging it out like they're, like they're selling the fucking car. It's ridiculous. I don't, and this is the problem with the Glazers. This deal's been going on for a year. And it's all about what's good for them, but it's terrible for the football club. And they are staying as well. It's tough. Sally Devil Red says the Sir Jim Radcliffe deal won't work. I mean, look, I don't know how it's going to work, if I'm being honest with you. I don't know how it's going to work because I sort of agree with you. If it's taken him this long to do a 25% deal. Billy's just gifted 5 memberships, by the way. Legend. Welcome to Espin. Welcome to Abia. Is there I've done that one. Bart says, we've done that one as well. New January signings, Casemiro, Mount and Martinez. Yeah, back from injury, says Keel. Good day, Mark. Done that one. Mark, I still remember when you said we have a lot more to go to hit rock bottom. I feel like that is happening right in front of us. Look, Anthony, I don't want to talk about it, but in reality, you've got to acknowledge reality, haven't you? And I'll tell you what I think. I think that, you've got to respect most teams in the Premier League. I don't respect Sheffield United or Luton. I mean, they're not very good. Even we can beat them. But West Ham could beat us tomorrow. And if West Ham beat us tomorrow, we're in trouble. Mark, I still remember, I've done that one. Reality, it's business people versus football people, says Akash. And also done from Ronald. Any chance of a second half watch? I might do a second half watch along, If anyone wants to go over there, I might do the second half. We're here till 9 anyway. A chief transfer negotiate. I've done that from Chris. I'm just catching up on these. Speaking of articles, did you read the news how Emery completely transformed Aston Villa? I feel we will be taught a lesson on Boxing Day by them, says Jim. And Michael Wright, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much. Have I read the news that Lindelof will be out for a month, says Joel? Well, it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me at all. Scott says, I don't think the deal ever gets done. It's probably a smokescreen for something else, says Scott. Merry Christmas, by the way, actually. This is our last Friday night show before Christmas, and anybody who watches the United Stand will know that Friday night's a very different type of show. So if you are having a drink of apple juice like me or something stronger, Merry Christmas to you all. It's been a fantastic year for the United Stand community. All those live shows we've done this year. Plenty more to come in 2024, I hope. Merry Christmas to you all. I know we chat and we love what we talk about, but sometimes it's worth taking a few seconds to acknowledge the greatness of this community and what a family it is. So Merry Christmas to you all. You're absolutely fantastic, and it's been a great year again, and God bless you, and hopefully we can have another one like that next year. And also as well, thank you everybody for watching the video I've done on That's Football, the Wembley World Cup one. It's been great fun. I'm loving the comments on there. If it gets 10,000 likes, the next one I'm going to play out. Then we'll see. Then I've played the game. I made some bloody good saves in goal. Merry Christmas. Anyway, get your comments in. It's a Friday night. We like to get your thoughts. So yeah, I think that look, playing devil's advocate, Advocar's horrible, isn't it? That's a Christmas drink. Taste of egg. Playing devil's advocate, even if Sir Jim Radcliffe's deal had been announced today, it wasn't going to make a massive difference anyway. Because it's Christmas weekend, hopefully it gets done like Tuesday or Wednesday next week now, because there is still time for it to happen before the new year. But what really should have happened is it should have been done weeks ago. And look, from what I understand, it's not from Sir Jim Ratcliffe's side that's the problem. Obviously, they would like to have got this deal done a long time ago, just the same as Qatar. They wanted to win this race a long time ago. I think the fact is that it comes down to the Glazers. And what I also think the problem is as well is because they're buying 25%, and 12.5% of it's the Glazers and 12.5% is the shareholders, I imagine it's quite difficult to get that deal sorted, because the ownership of Manchester United is now going to become even more convoluted. We used to have 69% Glazers and 31% shareholders. We're now going to have 57% Glazers or something. I don't know. But look, over 50% Glazers. So Jim's going to have 25%, and then the shareholders are going to have a percentage as well. So it's going to get all very convoluted. Glazers don't care about the club, probably because their evaluation on the club, dividends are paid, and they probably leverage it with other deals, says Abraham. Well, they don't know about football. They don't care about football. You look at the way that they behave with Tampa Bay, who is shite. They care about Tampa Bay. They care about the NFL. They don't care about Manchester United. Mark, I'm recovering from sepsis. Been watching you for years. I mean, your streams, not stalking you, says Mabeen. Mate, rest up, mate, and I hope you're feeling better soon. And take care, and thanks for your support. Merry Christmas to you and the United Stand crew, Mark. Can you please call my friends Christian and Map a Pratt, says Godfrey. Christian and Map, you're Pratts, and thank you very much for your super chat tonight, Godfrey. Could we force the Glazers out, says Baba. I'm just going to get into your comments now because it is Friday night. I think that... One minute. Tell you what, never does he do that. Never does he do that. Seb's freaked out by something. I think he's heard that. I think he's been on Twitter and he's heard that Scott McTominay's starting tomorrow. He's really upset, but he just wanted me, Father Bridge. So I had to go and just calm him down a little bit. There you go. What were we talking about there? Can we force the Glazers out? No. Thank you for everything you've done for us this year, Mark. Merry Christmas to you, says Danny. And Smelts, welcome to the Members Club. Why are we surprised the deal takes this long? Took us 3 months to get a loan for Amrabat, says Adti. And Dizzy Goose, welcome to the Members Club. And Chris says, I've been telling you for months this deal was dead on delivery. It would cause lawsuit after lawsuit. I think the deal will get done, mate. I really do. But I don't think it's going to be... I think it will get done very, very soon. But how it works, I don't know. Anyway, look, what we're talking about there is, could we ever force the Glazers out? I think that ship sailed. I think it will become even harder now. How do you force the Glazers out when Sir Jim Ratcliffe still is going to own half the club or some of the club? That the chance of getting the Glazers out, I think, is gone unless they've got a plan to leave themselves, which I don't know whether they're going to have. Snap says, hopefully the deal is dead. There is absolutely no conversation of that at all. None at all. Are you going to watch Villa Sheffield United? I've got it on. I think we're going to switch over in the second half and go from here to there. So if people want to join in, they can do that. If the Glazers cared, Qatar would have won, says Roderick. And would you take Douglas Luiz from Villa, says Joe. I think Douglas Luiz from Villa has been linked to Arsenal for a very long time, and Villa want to keep him, but he'd be a very, very good signing for them. Do you think Ericsson will start tomorrow, says Stian? And Slogs, welcome to the Members Club. Can I just say to the members, don't forget, we've got second half of the Christmas show coming out on Christmas Eve. You can still watch the first half as well. Very good show. Christian Eriksen has travelled with the squad, so he's back fit. I don't know what he's going to do with that midfield tomorrow. As I say, Seb's really upset that McTominay's starting, and I think he will start McTominay. I just hope it works. But I don't know what he's going to do with the midfield. I've already spoken about this on the press conference earlier on. I feel that the midfield is the biggest reason that we are where we are this season, and I know a lot of you agree with me with that, and I think you're right to agree with me with that, because I think it's a massive problem for United, and how he sets up tomorrow. Look, we could lose the game tomorrow. I'm not going to lie. We could lose the game tomorrow. We all know we could lose the game tomorrow. McTominay needs dropping, and Ten Hag will get a lot of backlash if he doesn't stick with the double fit pivot tomorrow, says Zinos. Well, he'll get it from me, mate. He will get it from me, and I'm not saying my opinion's any more important than anybody's. It's not. That's not why we did this. We did this with 10 people watching a few years ago, so it's not about my opinion's any better. You'll know that. But if I'm not blind in my support. My support is for Manchester United and what's best for Manchester United. I don't believe that sacking the manager is the right way to go. I don't. I think we've sacked so many managers. And look, as that article in The Athletic said, John Murtagh has effectively survived as a, more or less the director of football. I know he was only officially given it 2 years ago, but John Murtagh has survived for 5 managers. So that's just one person. The CEO's already gone. So there's plenty of change that needs to happen at Manchester United before the manager. But I will be completely honest with you. I would not be happy tomorrow if Erik Ten Hag starts McTominay, Bruno, and Amrabat, and breaks up that Amrabat-Mainu double pivot, or whatever you want to call it, or midfield two, because you need that, especially away from home. So if he goes tomorrow with Bruno, McTominay, and Amrabat, I will say it when the team comes out, this is just bloody ridiculous, and it's very concerning that he is going to be our manager, because he doesn't seem to have a clue how to set up in the Premier League this season with his midfield. And even last season, if we're being really honest, last season we got battered a few times, and we kept saying we're getting battered because Eriksen can't do the defensive work that Casemiro needs, and it leaves us exposed. So I will say it tomorrow. But look, I'll also say, if we win tomorrow and McTominay scores a couple of goals, is Erik Ten Hag right or is he wrong? Well, he's right. He's the manager. He gets paid the money, and he is right. But on the other hand, I think he's also wrong, because we need, it's not going to work every single game. In regards to lawsuits, I would have to think that when you make a company brand public, that you have a duty to shareholders. Walking away on purpose seems like something that could be looked at by SEX, as Thomas, or the SEC. And Stardog says Super League ain't happening, so the Glazers want away. That might be reason for delay. The league needs a strong look at United. All the best to you and your family, says Star. And is Paul Mitchell for director of football out of the question now, if Dan Ashworth is now out of the running, or have I missed something, says Duckbury? Well, no. Eddie Howe basically said that he expects Dan Ashworth to stay when he did his press conference today. That's basically what's been said there. So he expects him to stay. I sort of expect Dan Ashworth to stay, but I said to you lot about 3 weeks ago, from what I'd been told, Paul Mitchell was nailed on to be getting a job at United. So the assumption is, when he's nailed on to be coming to Manchester United, he would get the director of football role. But obviously we've had this talk about Dan Ashworth as well. They still talk about Dougie Freedman and people like that. I think Paul Mitchell will end up at Man United. I think Man United, whether it's by design or by name, what happens with United a lot is, summer transfer window, we're getting Harry Kane, we're getting Kim Min-jae, we're getting Onana, we're getting 5 or 6 top players, and you end up with not half of them if you're lucky. And I think with this as well, you're getting a situation where Manchester United are going to get, Dan Ashworth, Paul Mitchell, Blanc, and it's going to be a dream team. But I've always said with Dan Ashworth, why would you leave Newcastle? Why would Newcastle let him go? So if we can get that deal done, impressive. But I'm not convinced that happens. I think we'll get Blanc because obviously he works for Ineos as the CEO. And I think we'll get Paul Mitchell because he's free. And you know, he's a good choice. Destiny says, sorry, Destiny, welcome to the members club. Thank you very much. Paul Mitchell, sorry, Paul Mitchell. I think I said Phil Mitchell. Yeah. Apparently we've had some City fans in the chat. How's it going in your pub club, or your World Cup club, or your club World Cup? That's it. I don't even know who you're playing. Waste of time. Gautier says, maybe Sir David Brailsford has a secret agreement with Ashworth. Apparently they're good friends and maybe Ashworth fancies another rebuild. Mate, it doesn't matter whether you're good friends or not. It's going to cost you money. And Newcastle aren't just going to sit there anymore. I think if this was the old Newcastle, getting Dan Ashworth out of there would have been very easy. But this is Newcastle who have more money than us, better structure than us, better prospects than us. I think it will be... I think it'd be difficult but impressive if United did get hold of Dan Ashworth. Got more chance of getting Phil Mitchell than Paul Mitchell, says John. When's the career mode coming back? Well, it's not fucking coming back tonight, is it? Avery, welcome to the members club. Thank you very much. And how's having Rodri back and healthy? Wait, that's right. He's got hurt. Oh, let's not get into a chat about Man City. Our biggest problem is West Ham tomorrow. It's not a beer, Alex. That's what I don't have. As if I'd put ice cubes in beer. What sort of prat puts ice cubes in beer? That's not beer. I told you, it's apple juice. But even if it was beer, I wouldn't put I wouldn't put ice cubes in beer. I'm not a complete idiot. Ice cubes in beer. That's like putting Scott McTominay at number 10. City fans get out, and they do put them ice cubes in beer in Thailand, says Andy. I've never been to Thailand, and if you have, Andy, great. It's not apple juice. It's Krabby's ginger beer, which I drink at Christmas, and I like it. That's not Jack Daniels. I'd be bloody passed out with that much. Anyway, get some questions in. It's Friday night. Somebody just said there, in relation to the game tomorrow, how do you think we'll do against their attack and their midfield? Well, look, I think the game will be won and lost in the midfield. Avery, welcome to the members club. Yeah, I think the game gets won and lost in the midfield tomorrow. I think... I know it's been a repetition from the preview last night, but I didn't do the preview live last night, did I? I think that he's 100% going to pick McTominay tomorrow, and I think that's a problem because he's 100% going to pick Bruno. And if you pick Bruno and McTominay, you leave your midfield exposed. I genuinely hope whatever team he picks tomorrow, we win. Of course I want. But I think if he goes with McTominay and Bruno tomorrow and we lose, that's on the manager. And that puts me in a very difficult situation because we can't afford to lose tomorrow. And before the Liverpool game, I did that video the night before, let's do it, you know, round the troops, let's get going. Tomorrow, and I said it after the Liverpool game, I said it right after the Liverpool game, he has got to drop McTominay or Bruno for this for this West Ham game because he's got to keep Mainu and Amrabat because it worked. And if he doesn't do that and we lose tomorrow, then that's on the manager. Because I think if we play Mainu, Amrabat and Bruno, we'll win. And I think if we play Amrabat or Mainu and McTominay and Bruno, we might lose. So McTominay doesn't pick himself. Bruno doesn't pick himself. Amrabat doesn't drop himself. Mainu doesn't drop himself. That's the manager. And if he still thinks that that's the way to go this late in the season, then that worries me. And I don't want to see Ten Hag get the sack. I really don't want to see him get sacked. But, you know, it concerns me. I've been concerned about it all week. I mean, I can't wait for the game. I'm glad it's a 12:30 game. It's Christmas. You want to get it out of the way, don't you? But I don't want to get it out of the way and lose. And I think his team that he picks tomorrow, and I'm not even that bothered about the back four. I presume the back four sort of picks itself, but I am bothered about, and the front three, he might put Rashford in it, but the midfield, he's got to get it right. He has to get it right. That atmosphere tomorrow will be massive, and yeah, we've got to get it right. I can't believe Villa haven't had at least 3 penalties in this game, by the way. I've got it on the telly. Well, I will go over and do a watch along on That's Football second half. What is the best website to buy match day tickets as All-Star? I don't know. Should United be trying to sign Rafael Leao? Please answer me. It's like my 5th time asking, says Lava. Do a super chat and you'll definitely get answered. But I'm only joking. You don't have to do that. But I've seen you now. In relation to Leao or Osimhen or any other top player that I think Man United should be signing, I do completely agree with you that they would be good signings for Manchester United. But I just don't see us being in for that sort of a deal. I don't personally see how the Sir Jim Ratcliffe deal benefits us financially. I don't see... Look, if Qatar had bought Man United, and we must stop talking about it because it's not happening, I'd almost say Qatar could be any billionaire that bought the club. That's not happening. We're not getting rid of the Glazers. And I think if we had been bought by a billionaire who bought all of the club, then you look at the way... I mean, look, it's not fanciful. I was down the pub a few weeks ago, and somebody was getting a bit leery, and they were going, the thing is, you talk about Qatar like it's a magic wand. They might not be able to spend money. And I said, but look at Todd Bowley. Look at Todd Bowley at Chelsea. Look at how much money he spent, $1 billion in a year. If somebody bought Man United, you're going to spend $1 billion in a year or 2 years. You're going to spend a lot of money. That's what's going to happen. So let's not pretend that it wouldn't happen. It would. The problem is with Sir Jim, he's buying 25% and the Glazers still own the club and the shareholders there. So it doesn't make sense for Sir Jim Ratcliffe to go and pump £1 billion into the club over the next 12 months when he doesn't own all of it. So I'm really concerned / intrigued what we're going to be doing in the transfer market, because Man United in the transfer market are screwed. Financial fair play, the money we owe, the debt we're in. So why would Sir Jim Ratcliffe come in, start pumping hundreds of millions of pounds in it? It doesn't make sense. It might happen. I'd say it's a slim chance, but I don't see United being big spenders in the transfer market. Why do you think we're trying to sell Varane and Casemiro, our good players? Probably to raise money. I think we're going to have to sell to buy. Have you seen the names of the different tiers in the Super League? Yeah, they're rubbish, Jay. Was it Gold, Blue and Star? It's like a bloody children's BBC programme, isn't it? Thoughts on the 1-star food hygiene rating, says it's your boy Cal. Well, I mentioned it at the start. United had an event. They served raw chicken. You can get 5 stars for your food rating, and Man United have got 1. So, When will your Man United EFC career mode restart, says the BT? I don't know, but it's not going to start before Christmas. It'll be a New Year thing if it's going to happen. But yeah, I think with regards to the transfer policy under Sir Jim and the Glazers, I don't see Man United suddenly having £300-400 million to spend every summer like Chelsea do. I don't see that at all. I think we're going to be very economical and efficient. I think that's what's going to happen. I think we'll look. Even the Glazers sometimes spend £150 million in a summer, but I really don't see, unless I'm missing something, why Sir Jim buys 25% and then starts throwing in £500-600 million to spend on players. You've got to, I can't see it. Can't we pull levers like Barcelona did, says Reese? I don't know. But Saul's right. He says the trouble with the Glazers is they spend £150 million on crap, and exactly right. People always say Ten Hag spent £400 million. He hasn't spent £400 million. He's not the director of football. He's not the negotiator. And Man United, if we had bought Anthony for £20-30 million less, we would have been able to buy Gakpo as well. So, and Ten Hag wanted Gakpo that summer. I think what you will get, hopefully, with Mitchell and Blanc and maybe Ashworth is... What you should get is better negotiations and United suddenly getting a better reputation in the transfer market, because I'll tell you now, as I've said many times, our reputation in the transfer market is abysmal. It's absolutely abysmal. Before Erik Ten Hag came in, we were all saying he needs to be in charge of transfers, and he has been. But he hasn't, BD. He hasn't. This is just a myth perpetuated by people who don't know what they're bloody on about. Erik ten Hag is not in charge of transfers. Erik ten Hag has been backed getting players that he wants, and I'll get into this for you, but he's not in charge of spending 400 million quid. If Ten Hag doesn't negotiate the fee, Ten Hag doesn't say go and spend 85 million pounds on Anthony. To him, it's just go and get Anthony. So that is not on Ten Hag. That is on very bad recruitment and very, 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 very bad negotiations. However, where you do need a director of football and where you've got to put some blame at Ten Hag is some of the players he's asked for. He's not negotiated the fees. He hasn't said spend 55 million pounds on Mount. He just wants Mount. And with good negotiation, we could have got him for 40. So we've overspent. Where the scrutiny of Ten Hag has to happen is some of the things he's done. 50 million pounds on Onana when you've got a goalkeeper that left for free is just stupid, in my opinion. It's terrible business. Mason Mount, when you don't need an attacking midfielder, again, is silly business. I think Ten Hag must be scrutinised on that. But I think in his first summer he did well. I was very happy with Martinez. I was very happy with Casemiro, Eriksen. These players I was happy with. I think last summer, very happy with Rasmus. Onana may well come good in the future. Mason Mount might come good in the future, but there has to be questions asked about those players, definitely. Scott's having a pop at Anthony. I don't really get the Anthony criticism because it's almost like he's being judged for what he did before the last 3 games. In the last 3 games, he's actually played well, but the media won't let it go. So Anthony is now shit again. But basically, it coincided with that interview we did with Anthony. We did that interview with Anthony. He's played well since, but the media don't like that, and they don't like him anyway, so they won't let up. It's like Anthony's still shit, and obviously people want to jump on that. But I actually think for the last 3 games, he's been a lot better. We need him to have a good game tomorrow, though. You can't just keep dropping off, can you? We paid 100 million for a defensive winger, says Marvin AM. And what about Old Trafford? Will they give it a new coat of paint and hope for no rain on match day, says Clive. Well, I think what we're hearing about Sir Jim Ratcliffe is that the money that he's going to spend will be money that was spent will be money spent on the stadium. We've not heard anything about players. I've heard about sort of like 200, 300 million for the stadium. It's not enough, by the way, but I've heard a lot about that. But I've not heard anything about actually spending money on players. I'm convinced from what I'm hearing, and to be fair, what I'm hearing is a lot of what you're seeing. I'm convinced we're looking to sell players to raise money to buy other players, which is a dangerous road to be going down. I watched your Watford and Liverpool game reviews before Ollie got the sack, and it was the same story. Picking McTominay to the grave. History repeats itself, says Bobby. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. I mean, I've spoken to people sort of who operate within Manchester United, and I'm fascinated by this. And they are like, he does train well. He does train well, and he scores a lot of goals in training, and he looks very good in training. He's not turning up to Ten Hag and Ollie with an apple and washing their car. He does train well, and look at some of the goals he scored this season. If he does do that in Destiny. Thanks for your super chat. He does do that in training a lot, but it's never transferred into games, has it? And yet every manager has been willing to give him a chance. What player would you sign next, Goldbridge, says Miz. And do you think the Glazers might be trying up the Sir Jim Ratcliffe bid due to the Super League announcement, says Philip? No, I don't think so. But I think we'd have heard about that by now. Can you call Varane a prat? Says Dia. Absolutely buzzing. My brother's finally coming to meet us. He's been watching the show since 2016-17. And he says Merry Christmas to everyone as well. Thank you very much, Dia. And yeah, what player would I sign next? I mean, what player would you sign next? What player would you sign next? Do you want me to give you a player realistically, or do you want me to give you a player that I would sign next? Because I think the player I would sign next... Oh, God, it's difficult because I know that Ten Hag wants a centre-back and he wants a striker. You know what? It's deceiving because I think the biggest issue I have with United at the moment is the midfield. But I don't think we necessarily need to buy a midfielder, because if I could play Casemiro, Mainu and Bruno, I think I'd quite like that midfield three. And then you've got Amrabat as a backup, Eriksen's a backup, McTominay as a backup. I don't know what I'm doing with Mason Mount, by the way. So I don't think the midfield necessarily... I would lean towards buying a midfielder, but I don't think we necessarily do need to buy a midfielder urgently if everybody's back and we play the way we want to. I think it's just the way Ten Hag's picking the midfield that makes us think we need one. When actually, I think it's more tactical. If Varane and Martinez were fit, I think we'd be fine as well. I'd get David De Gea back on a free transfer and bin off Onana. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. It's, you know what? I actually, and maybe this is a little bit of a glimpse as to why I wouldn't sack the manager and why I still think things can be okay. I think there is a decent team you can put out for United. I think Onana, Delo or Wan-Bissaka, Martinez, Varane, Luke Shaw, Casemiro, Mainu, Bruno, Anthony, Højlund, Garnacho or Rashford. I think that's a good 11. Obviously, injury has stopped us a little bit, but I think tactics has stopped us a little bit as well. I think favouritism has stopped us a little bit. I think bad moods has stopped us as well. Players not playing to their best. I don't think we're a team where we're crying out for a top-class centre-back or a top-class striker. I do think that we've got a collection of players that can work. I don't know the inner workings of the dressing room and who's downing tools and who's a problem, though. I've got to say that. But I think that on reflection, Ten Hag probably had it right. He wanted Kim Min-jae. I didn't massively understand it because it was like Varane and Martinez. But Varane does pick up injuries. I'm not sure Varane can play twice a week either. So I do think a quality right-sided centre-back would be nice for United. And then a quality box-to-box midfielder would be nice for Manchester United. They'd be my two priorities. We do need a striker, but I don't want an Osimhen. I wouldn't turn my nose up at Osimhen, but I don't think that... I'm convinced Rasmus will do well, but we do need somebody else. I don't get these people who call you out for criticising Ten Hag. Have they ever actually had a friend? Not agreeing on things is part of life, says Dowell. Well, I don't notice getting called out about Ten Hag, Dowell, if I'm being honest, because I normally notice getting called out for backing him. But I'm telling you now, if he picks McTominay and Bruno tomorrow and we lose, I'm not going to be Ten Hag out, but I'm not going to be very happy. I'm fed up of this midfield approach of one holding midfielder and two attacking midfielders. It does us no favours. We get overwhelmed. We're playing away against a team at the top in the top half of the table who've beaten us before at their place. We've got to be protecting that defence tomorrow, especially when it's Johnny Evans. We can't play a high line with Johnny Evans. There's no Maguire. There's no Martinez. There's no Lindelof. We're going to have to play a deep line. You can't... McTominay hangs around Højlund. Bruno wants to be around Højlund. So you play a deep defensive line with Evans. You have a high line for your striker where your midfielders are, which leaves an absolute chasm between your defensive line and your attack and one midfielder there. We can't do that tomorrow. Do you know if Michael Edwards is also an option? No, he's not, Kevin. He's not on the list anymore. Carl Smith, welcome to the Members Club. Mark, could there be a potential implication of corruption with the Athletic article? Why do we overpay for players? Potential under-the-table returns, says Johan. I know what you're on about. So Man United overpay for players and they overpay in wages. So are there backhanders going on? Is there some sort of corruption with United? Maybe money laundering or something like that? I know that's what you're talking about. And it used to go on quite a lot in football, little brown envelopes. Genuinely, no, I've never thought that there's anything underhand going on with Manchester United. Why we give people who are on 20 grand a week, 200 grand a week is incredible. Why we pay 80 million for somebody who's worth 50 million is incredible. But I don't think there's any sort of sinister financial thing going on that benefits the Glazers. from what I've heard and what I've heard for years, and what a lot of people who know a lot more than me have said, it's just utter incompetence. It's just complete and utter incompetence, which is scary, isn't it? You know, I'm not saying that I'd like it if it was done for financial reasons, but it's just complete and utter incompetence. We literally will sign a player who's worth 50 million quid for 80 million quid, and we'll give them 10 times their wage at their old club. And we've done it more than 3 or 4 times. It's crazy. A healthy rebuild takes, on average, 3 to 5 years. In a rebuild, you need to keep the same team, including the manager. Remove negatives. Ten Hag in, says Avery. And Carl Smith, welcome to the members club. You're a legend. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, appreciate it. It's a good show. Let me have a sip. But you have got me a little bit nervous. I've got to say, you've all got me a little bit nervous. And I'll tell you why, because it's really sort of hit home to me how much we've got to win tomorrow. We've got to win tomorrow. It's not a draw, it's a must win. We have to win. We've got to go and win. I think a draw is a crap result. It might be a good result contextually, in the fact that we might get a late equaliser or save a penalty or something like that. But we do have to win tomorrow. I think that's absolutely nailed on. We've got to win. And it might, you know, it's not easy to say that that's going to happen, is it? They're a decent side, West Ham. I'm just hoping that we're going to catch them at a point where, you know, we take some confidence from what we did against Liverpool, because it would be, look, I don't want to ruin anyone's Christmas, but it will ruin mine. Well, it won't ruin mine, obviously, but it'll piss me off. It won't ruin my Christmas, but it'll piss me off if I've got to put up with that. And then, you know, you've got Villa at the weekend. It's going to be tough. Right, I've set it up for the watch along. I'm going to go over second half for Villa against Sheffield United, so we can carry on the conversation. It's actually worked out quite well, because it's 0-0. It's 0-0 at half time. So if you want to join me over there for the second half, it's a little bit of Christmas bonus. We've never done this before. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I'll be over there with you in a couple of minutes.